Welcome to Give Me Hope with your host and author, Johanna Vendel. Come join the conversation as Johanna focuses on sharing impactful personal narratives of loss. Her platform provides a safe space for individuals to express themselves, find comfort, and build connections as they navigate their grief journey. So now, please welcome the host of Give Me Hope, Johanna Vendel.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Give Me Hope with Johanna. Today, I have a very interesting story and a very interesting person that I am going to speak to. Good morning, Sundiya.
Hello, everyone.
Good. Do you mind telling the people a little bit about yourself before we get into your actual story?
Well, my name is Sundiya Kumar. I wrote Unveiling Shackles. I live in Canada with my children, and recently I'm a widow.
Oh, sorry to hear about that.
Thank you.
What happened, if I may ask?
He passed away early in the morning um, before going to work.
Oh, my word. Oh, shame. I am so sorry about that. You can continue with your story.
Yes, thank you. My book, Unveiling Shackles, is about my ancestry. I touch on that so people will understand the Indian culture and traditions and the things that I endured during my childhood. Um, I talk about my great grandparents who came from India to Fiji by the British to work on the sugarcane plantations in the 1900s.
Oh, wow.
I talk about how they endured physical abuse and many more things, and how some of the people passed away on the trip.
Oh,
And then I go into my parents' marriage. They were for two different cultures. My mom was Muslim and my dad was Hindu. And those two religions do not like each other. They have animosity from generations ago. I talk about that so people understand why I went through what I went through in my
oh,
life.
ay, ay,
Uh,
ay.
yeah, it's sort of hypocritical because my parents eloped and got married, but yet they put their daughters through hell by enforcing all these crazy rules and traditions. Like,
Life was surely different in those years, hey?
yeah, being in Canada, we were trying to be more culturalized to the Canadian way of schooling, of women's freedoms. It was fine when we were little, up until grade 6. Everything was great. My parents couldn't have a boy, so they gave us all the liberty for a woman, a girl. They gave us freedom to do whatever we wanted. And then when I was in grade 6, they had a son. Everything changed at that point.
Oh. So, were you born in Canada?
No, I came here when I was 2 years old.
Okay, so where were you born?
Fiji,
Oh, in Fiji. Wow.
yes.
Wow, that is interesting. So, do you want to tell me a little bit about the immigration process that your parents had to go through?
Yeah, my dad came here in 1969, a year after I was born. He stayed here for about a year and a half before he decided to sponsor my mom and me and my sister.
Okay, so he first came over to establish a kind of a living style or establish himself a little before he brought your mom and the children over.
Yes, I talk about that in my book as well, what he endured, because I think a lot of immigrants can attest to this is when you come to a country that's new, you go through the process of finding your identity. You have to reinvent yourself. And sometimes you lose yourself within the process. You lose your name because people can't pronounce it the way you used to. You change your name to an English name. And my dad went through that, but he didn't choose his own name. He was given a more Canadian name.
Okay, what was your dad's name?
Um, his name was Sanjapan, and they couldn't pronounce it, so they called him Sanjapa.
Oh, it is like my name, you know. I am also an immigrant from South Africa, and I speak Afrikaans, which is a language similar to Dutch. And here in America, my name is pronounced as Johanna,
Yes.
but in my language, it's Johanna.
So the J is like my name, Sundiya. People didn't know how to pronounce it, so going through high school, I was always Sandy,
Ah,
and I didn't like it, but I didn't want to be the one going, no, that's not my name. I was like, okay, well, if they can't say it, then I have to change too, right? Be
ye-
more accepting.
yes, it is difficult to try to be like, say, for instance, like I am in America now. My children constantly will tell me, Mommy, can't you just speak a little bit more American? And I am so set in my ways, and it was difficult to um, establish ourselves here as well. You know, like you said earlier, nobody knows you. I was a trainer and a manager on the other side, you know, in South Africa. And then I come here and I had to go back into a little room being a massage therapist again, you know, where I started years ago. And then I had to go back into that and just kind of establish something for myself here again, you know. And then I had to go and do training again to get a certification here because my certification that I got in South Africa, they want American certification here. So I literally had to get a certification for massage again. But instead of just getting a normal plain certificate, because I have all the knowledge of being a trainer already, I thought, well, let me, instead of doing a plain one, let me do something that I don't have. So I went and I did my medical massage certification. And yeah, now I am loving that. And that is who I was before I became an author, you know, and a podcast host. So it just shows you if you just persevere, you can build up a name for yourself again.
It is difficult, but you got to think about maybe God had something better in plan for you. But I think the schooling should be accepted. It should be universal acceptance of schooling. Maybe a brush up course, but you shouldn't have to start all over again.
Yes, yes. That's what I also thought, you know, that you don't have to start all over. But enough of me. Let's hear more about your book. So you then, your parents came over and you started to establish a life, and then what happened?
Well, in grade six, I did everything that a boy could do, freedoms, enjoying life, and then all of a sudden everything was taken away. We weren't good enough anymore. We were girls. We were of no value because my dad had a son now that was more valuable than any of his daughters. So slowly our lives started to change where everything was, yes, you could do that. And now it was, no, you can't. You can't go out by yourself. You're a girl. You can't go play. Girls do not play. And then my dad started the coming to school to see what we were doing because he worked graveyards. So he would come to the school during lunch, during recess to see what the girls were doing, me and my older sister. And if I was playing soccer with the boys, I would have to say, sorry, you don't know me. I don't know you. Don't talk to me. I wrote about it in my book as well, everything we endured. And then slowly, he started getting physically abusive to us, the girls. And I would hide under my bed thinking I could get away from him, but it never happened. Like we endured that for years, my sister, my older sister and me. And then when we were 15, he found out that I had a boyfriend. So he took me out of school, restricted my education.
Oh,
I was under home confinement. He wouldn't let me go talk to anybody, no family, no friends. He wouldn't let me talk to my older sister either because she was already under house confinement for running away.
oh,
Um, and then at 16, I was forced into an arranged marriage. And my life went downhill from there. Because I don't think we like became friends, but we weren't in love. There was no love. It was just he was there, I was there, and it was just a situation we were thrown into.
and did you
And
stay in that situation?
yeah, we
Oh,
became really good friends. Um, we had a son when I was 20, and it was a really tough marriage. It was a very toxic marriage,
oh,
but we separated a few times within the marriage. And then I realized that I didn't want my son to have no father, no one in his life to be a father to him. So I compromised a lot within the marriage. He used to go out, he cheated, I would put up with it. It took me 30 years to realize that I was worth more than just sitting at home and doing nothing.
oh. And
And
your son, did he see all these things and did he recognize that his dad is not treating you well?
um, the thing is, like when he was little, I realized I didn't have no education. I didn't have any skills. I couldn't go find a job. No one would give me a job because I was a young mother. I was a young teenager that was married. So that made it worse. And then I realized when I was 20, when my son was crawling around and stuff, I realized that I'm raising him and I'm raising two of his nephews. That's another story in my book as well. So I had the three boys, and I realized that when these boys grow up, what are they going to think of their mother? They're going to be like, she doesn't know anything, and they're not going to treat me with respect. So I
Yes.
decided to go back, finish my education. I went on to college, got my criminology,
Wow.
and I went into surveillance, and then I became a private investigator.
Wow. That
So
is amazing.
I think a lot of women need to know that no one's going to help you. You have to find the strength within yourself,
I
and you
agree
have to give
100%
yourself.
there.
You have to give yourself that love that no one else will give you. That love is within you to make yourself better. And the biggest thing I learned is as much as you have faith in yourself, you have to have faith in God, that He will hold you up when you can't hold yourself up. I
Definitely.
found that the hard way. I found that the
Yes.
hard way.
Wow. There are so many women out there that is abused within their marriages and they just don't get out, like you stayed there because you want to be there for your son, you know. Children grow up and you must still stay with that person after your children is out of the house.
Yeah.
And is that what you want? Do you want to live in a marriage like that just because you want to be there for your children now? Because when they are out of the house, you are 20 years older, and then to think you must now start over and maybe enjoy your life in the future, it is sometimes not fair to the children to stay in an abusive marriage because they can become abusive like that as well if they keep on seeing those things. So I thought I cannot live with that because I will never be able to trust again. And I moved on. And now I am married for almost 20 years with my second husband, and I'm so happy, and I have two more children, and my first two children love their brother and sister now as well. So sometimes it can turn out to be a little bit better if you move out and don't go through those abusive things. But it's difficult, every situation is difficult. I feel sorry for people that cannot get out.
Yes, that's true. It takes a lot of strength.
Wow. And when did your husband die?
He died last year, summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And you launched your book when?
Oh, it was actually he that did it. Um, I used to write a lot in my diaries, and one day he read my diaries and he said, "Oh, these are really good stories." And he was like, "Oh, do you write stories?" And I go, "No, this is all true." And that's when I had to explain to him what a diary was, because he was from Fiji and they don't do any of those things. They don't write
So
any diaries.
did he read some abusive things that he did to you?
No, no, that part was in the future. This is way back when he first came to
Oh,
Canada. So he started reading my diaries. I was like, okay with it. It was things that were in the past that no one could change anyways. So it wouldn't made a difference to him. It was things that I had written about growing up and the physical abuse from my dad and things like that. Like I
okay.
had
So
always written.
basically, your book is not about your life now. It's mostly about your life previously.
It goes back to about 2023, 24 around there. Like to
Oh,
before my husband passed away.
oh, okay. Wow, wow. This is so interesting. And your book's name is called?
Unveiling Shackles.
Wow, wow. Well, do you have a book trailer?
Yes, I do. I do
Good.
have.
So let's show the viewers your book trailer as well, so they can have a little bit of a background of your book then. Let's show
Thank
them.
you. Okay.
From the shores of India to the fields of Fiji, a family bound by history and hope. Despite cultural differences, Nisha and her love stand strong, shining brightly through disapproval and challenges. Bound by love, divided by heritage, they build a new legacy against the odds. Facing the shadows of her past, Sundiya tells a story of struggle and triumph, connecting threads of history to present realities. This is more than history. It's a story filled with resilience and the unyielding bonds of family. Unveiling Shackles, a journey from discovery to empowerment. Available now.
Wow. See, now that is an amazing way to describe your life about everyone that came over to Canada. Was there rules in the olden days for people to come over as well?
Um, our ancestry starts in the 1900s. The British actually kidnapped my ancestors from India and brought them to Fiji to tend to the sugarcane farms. And I discussed that in my book as well, um, how they were treated, abused. Some of them had passed away because the journey was so tedious. I also talk about the culture between the Hindus and the Muslims in my book. And I go on to talk about my parents, their elopement, being from two different religions, how that impacted the children's lives as well. I talk about that
Wow.
because in the families, the extended families, the children were not accepted because we were half bloods.
Mm.
We weren't full Hindus, we weren't full Muslims, we were half caste, and I think a lot of people can relate to that, being in a multicultural environment right now. We're more accepting of it, but back in the 60s, and 70s, it was more seen as like a black spot. Like no one wanted any interracial marriages.
Wow. Let's go into a short break quickly, and then afterwards, I would like to ask you a few more questions about that. So
Thank you.
we'll be back shortly.
Hey there. Pause for a second. If you've ever felt like you're walking through a storm, completely alone, if you've ever felt the weight of grief or the sting of a setback that just seemed too big to overcome, then I want you to know you're in the right place. My name is Johanna Vendel, and I've created a space for people just like you, and for people just like me. For years, I've had this deep calling to connect with others on a level that goes beyond the surface. I'm a Christian podcaster, and my mission, my absolute passion, is to find and share the most incredible, impactful stories of real human beings. Think about the toughest moment in your life, the one that brought you to your knees. Now imagine hearing from someone who went through something just as shattering, and not only survived, but found a way to stand up again, stronger, and with a renewed sense of purpose. That is what my new YouTube channel is all about. I sit down with people from all walks of life, people who have stared adversity right in the face. We talk about the raw, unfiltered reality of their struggles. We talk about grief, not as something to be quickly fixed, but as a journey to be navigated with grace and courage. We go into the dark places, the moments of doubt, the times they wanted to give up. But here's the beautiful part. We don't stay there. Through their incredible testimonies, we uncover the turning points. We find the flicker of light in the darkness. We discover how their faith, their resilience, and their community carried them through. And in every single story, without fail, we find hope. A powerful, unshakable hope that can only be born from walking through fire. These aren't just interviews. They're conversations that breathe life back into weary souls. They are a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of God's grace in our most broken moments. So, if you're watching this right now, this is my personal invitation to you. I've just launched this new channel, and I'm pouring my heart and soul into it. If these kinds of stories resonate with you, if you're looking for a dose of real, tangible hope, or if you just want to be reminded that you are not alone in your struggles, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button and please share. Join our community. Let these stories be a light for you. Let them remind you that no matter what you're facing, there is hope on the other side. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to share these journeys with you.
Welcome back. So, Sundiya, I would like you to tell us a little bit more about the cultural animosity when your parents came over to Fiji.
Actually, it was my grandparents that came
Oh, your
from India
grandparents.
to Fiji, yeah,
Okay,
1900s.
good. So tell me more about that because that sounds so fascinating.
So, in the 1900s, my grandparents were taken from India on a boat to Fiji to tend to the sugarcane farms. And this was a bunch of different religions all in one boat. They all had been taken from their homes, so they all bonded, basically. They became friends, they ate together, drank together, worked together, did everything together, and supported each other. And then they did the same thing when they were taking off the boats and taken to the farms. They all cooperated with each other. They became like brothers and sisters. And they did that for years. They drank together, they celebrated each other's holidays. And eventually, when the British went back to Britain, they decided that there was nothing in common anymore. They could go back to the animosity they had between each religion. So they started showing signs of not liking each other and didn't get along. So the old animosity came back. And it was not an easy process, from my grandparents used to say, because some of these people were intermarried. And their kids were the ones that were feeling the brunt of it, the interracial kids, because now they didn't classify as Hindus and they didn't classify as Muslims, which basically was me and my sisters and my siblings, same situation.
Yes, that is another thing that you said earlier is that you were now kind of half bred um, on the Hindu side and the other side. So why would they treat you different? Because they didn't like each other?
I think it went deeper than that because at this point in their lives, they had the Pakistani border issues. They had like a whole bunch of things that were going on in India. And I think people don't realize that whatever happens in India, it shows up in different countries where there are sects of Muslims and Hindus. They take that into account for the way they treat other people.
Mm.
Like the mosque burnings, the temple burnings, like those things come and show in racism, which is really bad, but
Wow.
people take that seriously.
That is very interesting to hear that those cultures have racism, you know. Um, wow, that is very interesting. Do you want to?
I talk about that. I talk about that in my book as well. Sorry. Um, it it carries on. It goes from one generation to another. The basic.
And then your generation came. Okay, so then your father and mother was born, and where was your father born and your mother, and how did they meet? Because they were now from different cultures as well.
Yes. My parents were born in Fiji. My dad was 13 years older than my mom, and they had met when my mom was 17 at a coffee shop.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
And they had eloped when she was 18. They eloped and got married. And the extended family on both sides didn't like that. They pretty much disowned them. And then my dad decided, since no one is paying us respect, no one's accepting this relationship, they decided they were going to move the family to Canada, migrate.
So the rule about you must marry a certain person. From whose side of the culture did it come? From your dad's side of the culture or your mom's side?
Well, my mom's side was strict Muslims. She had to marry a Muslim, no questions about it. And girls were supposed to do what they were told in that religion as well. And the Hindus, my dad's dad was a strict Brahmin, which is like the highest in the Hindu. And they're vegetarians. They follow the rules to the T. And he disowned them right away. There was no question about, let me get to know this girl. It was no,
I
she's
was
not our.
wondering about that, if he was disowned, because if the rules are so strict that you have to marry the person that they find you to marry, then that is unbelievable. And then your dad made you marry someone that he arranged?
Yes, that's the part that's so difficult, is because they fell in love and got married, and they were from two different religions. So you think they would be more accepting.
Exactly. You know, I cannot believe that your dad did that.
Yeah, there was two sides to my dad. Like, if you got to know him, you'd love him. He, on the outside, he was the generous man. He would give the shirt off his back to anyone. Um, People would phone him up just because his name was Indian. They would phone him up. They would come from India, phone, look up in the telephone. We had the yellow pages and the white pages back in the day. They would
Yes.
look through the white pages, call him up and say, hey, brother, and talk in their language, which me and my sister didn't understand. And he would bring them home. These are people we do not know who they are. He would bring them home, feed them, keep them a year, a month, whatever, and help them move and get them a job. Like, he was that kind of person.
Wow. So he was actually a good man also. I mean,
A
because
good
if
man
someone
with,
can do that, you know, you must have a lot of goodness in you.
I think he did, because he used to volunteer a lot, And he used to do this for all religions, actually, because growing up, we had Catholic in our family, we had Christian in our family, we had Hinduism, Muslim. Like, he didn't worry about where you came from, what religion you were. He would help you if he could, and he would go out of his way to help you. And
Wow.
that's what I learned from him. I learned
So,
all the good things.
so what culture is your husband then?
My husband was Hindu.
And what culture would you call yourself then if you are one of like
Back in the day, I think I had given up on culture or religion as well, because my mom had
culture?
told me something. She told me that if you're married, if one of the spouses is religious, she said whatever he does or she does, the blessings go to both. So I said, he's religious enough for the both of us. Why should I be religious?
Ah,
So after that, I became more spiritual. I took everything I learned from my mom's Muslim religion, my dad's Hindu religion, my relatives' Christianity, and the Catholic. And I found so much in common was service to others, kindness, and all these little things that people take for granted.
yes.
Like looking outside the box, I said, I
And
want to
then
be that
and then
person.
did you adopt the Christian?
Um, I think it was when my dad passed away. I got really sick. I had COVID, and I have asthma and a compromised immune system. So I was on the couch. I was thinking I was gonna die. Like seriously, I was so sick I couldn't breathe, and I was sleeping there on the couch, and I prayed to God, like, if it's my time, take me, and if it's not, help me, like,
To get better.
to get better. And I was sleeping there, and I felt this energy come into my body, and I lifted off the couch, and I got slammed back into the couch. And the next day, I was walking around like nothing wrong with me. And I said to myself, I think either it was my dad or God, one of those two, because who else would it
Yes,
be?
yes.
And
You definitely feel a difference when the Holy Spirit comes into your body and soul, to live within you, because as soon as you start to have that inside you, it's like you becoming someone else. You're becoming a stronger version of yourself. You're becoming a person who is open to help other people, who is open to tell their stories, who is open to live their life to the fullest. I
yes,
have
that's so
been through
true.
it myself as well. 2006, when I gave my heart, my personal yes, my heart to Jesus. And I cannot tell you the difference in my life since that has happened to me as well.
I where I am right now, it's because of God, actually, because I talk about in my book the death of my dad, and then 9 months later, the murder of my brother, and then
Your brother?
a year, my younger brother, he was murdered. I talk
Oh,
about that in the book as well. And I talk about my mother. She passed away a year later with a botched surgery. She went in for a gallbladder surgery, and she never made it back out. She was put on a ventilator. I think they were just trying to tell us that, give us false hope that she would be okay, but we knew she wasn't.
and you
Um,
still have a sister now?
I have two
Oh, you
sisters.
have two sisters.
Yeah, but they don't talk to me, and I don't talk to them because they're very toxic people. I talk about them in my book as well.
It is
And
so sad when you hear stories like that, because life is so short,
yeah,
And me, personally, I have also lost my entire family, and I tell my complete story in my book, Life Think Again, as well, where there were brutal things that happened to my family in South Africa as well, and things that I had to go through, which made me decide to move to America. Also, like shootings and hijackings and
Yeah.
so many things that happened in my life. But my autobiography also tells a lot. And now I'm in America for 9 years. I cannot thank God more for this opportunity just to breathe and not to have to look over my shoulder every single second of the day, to lock yourself in your own house behind burglar proofing, behind high walls, electric fences, and cameras. That's not the way to live, you know.
No, it's not, definitely.
Wow.
The freedoms we have in these countries are more, we should be more grateful for everything we have, right?
Yeah. Would you mind telling me about your brother that got killed? How did that
Um,
happen, if you mind?
he was a truck driver, so he was getting ready to go to work the next day, so he wanted some money. So he usually goes for a run at night. So he told my mom that he was going to go for a run and then he was going to go to the bank. And so he went to the bank. I guess he took money out from what we saw on the CCTV camera.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sorry, get a little emotional when I talk about him.
It's okay.
Um, they don't know what happened at that point. He took the money out, he turned around and left. Someone either got him at that point. There was no cameras in the area to see what happened. He went missing from the ATM, and we didn't find him till um, Halloween evening.
Wow. So how long was he gone?
6
They
days.
found him. Oh, and and
We looked through everything.
and where did they find him eventually?
They wouldn't disclose exactly where they found him,
Oh,
but he was found in someone's backyard.
oh, my word. No, I mean, my sister also, when I speak about her, sometimes I still get emotional because I've lost three sisters, and I've lost my
Yeah.
brother and then my mom and dad as well. But my little sister, she was the person who was there for me after we have lost almost everyone except my brother. He was still alive at that time. But my sister and I, we were so close, and she then got hijacked and the car roll after a while. She must have fought or something in the car there. But the car rolled and she died, on the spot.
Really?
And
That's true.
um, yeah,
That's
it is so sad
difficult.
when you die because of someone else's negligence or someone else that just feel like taking your life or doing something. To someone.
Yeah,
Oh, it is so sad.
it is. It breaks your heart.
Yes, I am sorry to hear that.
Me too.
Oh, what year was that, if I may ask?
2020,
Okay.
because my dad passed away in 2019. It was 9 months after. We were just getting used to my dad's death. We were just dealing with that. And then on top of that, we had my brother's death.
Yeah, I know that
And
feeling. My mom also died in 2012. Then my big sister died in 2016. And then my little sister died in 2020. And not long after that, in 2020 as well, my brother died. So that was also quite a lot for me. In a span of 10 years, I've lost m- four people. I mean, I lost my twin sister and my dad in the 19s, 93 and 97. But then for 12 years there, we were all together still. And then all of a sudden, my mom, sister, little sister, and my brother all gone. And if I have my next birthday in December on the 2nd, I will officially be the oldest sibling alive because my brother was the oldest. He was only 51. So if I'm 52, I'll be the oldest sibling. And unfortunately, if I'm 59, I will be the oldest family member because my mom was only 58. So they all died young. And
Mhm.
now I have to live without all of them. It's sad to think about it like that, but it
It's
depends on
hard.
what you do. And from what I can see, Sundiya, is that you are also a strong person, writing about your story. Because sometimes when you write about these stories, it definitely makes you stronger. And me again, speaking about my stories on my podcast and listening to other people's stories like yours again, it definitely helps people to become stronger because you know that you are not alone. There's actually someone else out there whose heart's also broken, and if we can uplift their spirits by the end of the day, then we have done our job, that the reason for God in our lives, the reason why He came into our lives.
The hard part is, I think people need to understand is you're capable of so much. You just have to believe in yourself. Give
You have
yourself that
to.
love.
Yes,
And
you have to. Self-love is so important because if you
yes,
think about it, who will love you if you can't even love yourself?
that's where it starts. I think you have to love yourself. And then that's when you realize you can let God in to help you.
Yes,
That's where it
yes,
starts. You
so
gotta deal with healing yourself first. And
that
my message to all the women out there is, if I could do it, Johanna can do it. You guys can do it too. Lift yourself up, give yourself that praise because you're still there. You're still fighting, and keep fighting. Don't give up.
don't give up. Don't give up. That is so true because if you give up, depression takes over and your body slowly die.
I was going through anxiety and depression when I had all those deaths, and my husband was the one that helped me through a lot of that. And then when he passed away, I had to do it myself because I didn't want to be a burden to my kids.
Yeah,
So I asked God to help me, to lift me up. And I think that's when I knew in my heart that there was someone there to help me. If I helped myself, God would help me too.
yes. All you have to do is ask because
Yeah.
He always listens.
He's always listening,
Yeah.
even when you don't think he's listening.
Oh, yes, because
Honestly.
all you need to do is you have to step back and look at everything in your life, and then you'll actually see where His hand touched so many things in your life, which shows you that He was always there and He is
Yeah.
always there. It is amazing.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
these lessons that we learn that make us stronger is at this point in your life, you do sit back and you go through each episode of your life and think about all the things that you endured and how you overcame them. If
Yes,
God wasn't there, you would have a harder time to deal with all those things.
definitely. I also went through a lot of depression in the last 5 years because you are at a different stage of grief every time when you lose someone, and then all of a sudden, boom, you are back at number one again,
Yeah.
and I think there was a stage where I was literally in four different stages of grief because of the different people and the different timelines that I have lost. My mom, big sister, little sister, and my brother. And it is, I cannot tell you, there was a time where I felt that I did not want to live anymore because how can I carry on living? And I don't know how to handle it. And then I just started to write my thoughts down and I started to write my books, and I am overflowing of stories now that I am constantly in front of my computer writing a book or a story or something. I just launched my fifth book on Friday, Halloween day,
Wow.
at the 31st. I just launched my fifth book in 2 years since I've been writing.
Congratulations.
And I have just been writing down my thoughts, and I have becoming stronger as a person just by letting all of that out of me, and telling my story. It's unbelievable what that can do for a person.
It frees your soul. That's what I say.
Definitely,
Writing.
definitely, definitely. Yes. So, anything else that you would like to let the viewers know about your book or yourself that we didn't touch on?
I do discuss my whole marriage in there as well. Um, I talk about all the emotions, what I could have done wrong, what I could have done right. Um, and I think the major point I want to stress to everybody is, yes, it's a book that's full of emotions. Um, use your discernment when reading it. It might trigger some people. Um, but the overall picture I want to show people is living through everything I had gone through. I'm still standing, and you can too. Don't give up on yourself.
Mm,
That's what I want to say. And this goes for women or men. It's not gender neutral. I mean,
yes.
it
Yes.
can apply to anyone.
Wow.
And
If
the
you
big
if you think about it now, and you think, what could you have done to make your marriage better previously? Would you have stayed in the marriage, or would you have left him?
No, I mean, with my marriage, it was on off. Like there were points where I felt like a single mother because I was raising two kids. I was raising my sister's baby and I was raising my son. And I think I went through that a couple of years. And then he would come when his life was not working out or someone dumped him. He would come back into our lives
Oh,
and be the husband. And he'd be gone. If he found someone new, he'd be gone. Like there was no staying and trying to work anything out.
wow.
Um,
And you endured all of that. You just stayed married to him all those times?
yeah, I did stay married. I
Wow.
think it was the stubbornness in me because my parents got me married to him. I discussed this in my book as well. They got me married to him, and then they wanted me to divorce him. After my son was born, they wanted me to get rid of him. They said, "Oh no, he's not right for you. You should leave him." And
Wow.
then I said, "You're the ones that got me married to him, and now you want me to leave him?" No. So I think that was the part that I wanted to just rub it in their face, you know?
Yes. Wow. Well, this really seems like a heartbreaking book and a courage book, and yeah, just a book of resilience that is so much appreciated when people can read about stories like that and see how there's also still a little bit of hope in there.
Yeah. My book has won three book awards.
Wow. From where?
Um, so I won International Impact Book Awards. Um, and then I won the Book Fest Award. And then last week I found out I won the Satya Sparsh Book Award in India, the highest prestigious honor.
Wow, congratulations. Well, that is quite an accomplishment. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything else that you would like to say before we wrap up?
I just want to say to all the women out there that you are loved, and you can always reach out to other people. There are really kind people out there that were willing to help and listen. And remember, God is always there.
Amen. That is very nice. Thank you so much for sharing your story and being vulnerable, to tell your story like this. Thank you so much for sharing this. I appreciate you being on my podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Well, that was Sundiya, and if you would like to read her story, you can follow the links below the video. All her links are in the video there. And I will be back next week with another amazing story of hope. So share, like, subscribe to this channel, and we will be back next week. Have a good day and goodbye.
This has been Give Me Hope with your host, Johanna Vendel. Join Johanna each week and harness the transformative power of storytelling to facilitate healing and growth. Wednesdays, 11 a.m.